Hello everyone, welcome back to another story. Grandpa's Great Escape by David Walliams. This is the tale of a boy called Jack and his grandfather. Once upon a time, Grandpa was a Royal Air Force pilot. During World War II, he flew a Spitfire fighter plane. Our story is set in 1983. This was a time before the internet and mobile telephones and computer games that could be played for weeks on end. In 1983, Grandpa was already an old man, but his grandson Jack was just 12 years old. Prologue. One day, Grandpa began to forget things. It was little things at first. The old man would make himself a cup of tea and forget to drink it. Before long, he would have lined up dozens of cups of cold tea on his kitchen tables. Or he would run a bath and forget to turn off the taps, flooding his neighbor's flat downstairs. Or he would leave the house with the express purpose of buying a stamp, but return home with 17 boxes of cornflakes. Grandpa didn't even like cornflakes. Over time, Grandpa started to forget bigger things. What year it was, whether his long deceased wife Peggy was alive or not. One day, he even stopped recognizing his own son. Most startling of all was that Grandpa completely forgot he was an old age pensioner. The old man had always told his little grandson Jack stories of his adventures in the Royal Air Force all those years ago in World War II. Now, these stories became more and more real to him. In fact, instead of just telling these stories, he began living them out. The present faded into scratchy black and white as the past burst into glorious colors. It didn't matter where Grandpa was, or what he was doing, or whom he was with. In his mind, he was a dashing young pilot behind the controls of his Spitfire plane. All the people in Grandpa's life found this very difficult to understand, except one person, his grandson Jack. Like all children, the boy loved to play, and it seemed to him that his grandpa was playing. Jack realized all you had to do was play too. Chapter 1. Spam a la Custard. Jack was a child who was happiest alone in his bedroom. A naturally shy boy, he didn't have many friends. Instead of spending his days playing football in the park with all the other kids from school, he would stay inside assembling his prized collection of model aeroplanes. His favorites were from World War II, the Lancaster bomber, the Hurricane, and of course his grandfather's old plane, the now legendary Spitfire. On the Nazi side, he had models of the Donner bomber, the Junkers, and the Spitfire's deadly nemesis, the Messerschmitt. With great care, Jack would paint his model planes, then fixed them to the ceiling with fishing wire. Suspended in the air, they looked like they were in the middle of a dramatic dogfight. At night, he would stare up at them from his bunk bed and drift off to sleep, dreaming he was an RAF flying ace, just like his grandfather once was. The boy kept a picture of Grandpa by his bed. He was a young man in the old black and white photograph. It was taken sometime in 1940 at the height of the Battle of Britain. Grandpa was standing proudly in his RAF uniform. In his dreams, Jack would go up, up, and away, just like his grandfather had. The boy would have given everything he had, and all of his past and all of his future, for one moment behind the controls of Grandpa's legendary Spitfire. In his dreams, he would be a hero. In his life, he felt like a zero. The problem was that each day was exactly the same. He would go to school every morning, do his homework every afternoon, and eat his dinner in front of the television every night. If only he wasn't so shy. If only he had lots of friends. If only he could break free from his boring life. The highlight of Jack's week was Sunday. That was the day his parents would leave him with his grandfather. Before the old man had become too confused, he would take his grandson on the most magical days out. The Imperial War Museum was the place they loved to visit the most. It was not far away, in London, and was a treasure trove of all things military. Together the pair would marvel at the old warplanes hanging from the ceiling of the great room. The legendary Spitfire was, of course, their absolute favorite. Seeing her always brought Grandpa's memories of the war flooding back. He would share these stories with his grandson, who devoured every word. On the long bus journey home, Jack would bombard the old man with hundreds and hundreds of questions. What was the fastest speed you ever went in your Spitfire? Did you ever have to parachute out? Which is the better fighter plane, the Spitfire or the Messerschmitt? Grandpa loved answering him. Often a crowd of children would gather around the old man on the top deck of the bus home to listen to these incredible tales.